The California sun cast its golden glow across Santa Monica Pier, where joy, melodies, and the sweet aroma of spun sugar danced through the atmosphere. Families wandered along the weathered boardwalk, children pulled eagerly at their parents' sleeves toward the attractions, and lovers pressed against the barriers, gazing at the rolling surf beneath. However, within this vibrant, jubilant tableau, a solitary young woman remained seated in her wheelchair beside the merry-go-round, attempting to disappear into the surrounding throng. Marissa Hart was her name, a 19-year-old whose existence had been irrevocably altered when a vehicular collision rendered her unable to walk. The pier held a special place in her heart. The revolving observation wheel, the resonance of street musicians performing for donations, and the briny coastal wind rekindled her spirit. Yet her greatest dread centered on the gazes of others, the manner in which passers-by examined her mobility device before acknowledging her humanity. On this particular afternoon, though, she resolved not to allow anxiety to govern her actions. She intended to navigate the pier independently, purchase a cold beverage, and experience life as others did. She yearned to reclaim her sense of belonging. Unfortunately, that feeling of acceptance would prove fleeting. A trio of young males spotted her across the wooden walkway. They were boisterous, cocky, and obviously seeking notice. One sported a tropical patterned top with an inflated posture, ink designs snaking along his forearms. His companions donned worn denim jackets. They had been roughhousing with each other, exchanging vulgar banter, but when they discovered Marissa, their smirks became more menacing. They advanced toward her deliberately, resembling hunters stalking their quarry. One positioned himself nearby and hissed, "Get out of the way!" The statement cut through her consciousness like a blade. Marissa became motionless. She had adapted to hushed gossip in her vicinity, but this situation, this was entirely different. This was aggressive, vicious, and witnessed by many. Before she could respond, the individual in the tropical shirt chuckled and kicked at her wheelchair. The force jarred her seat, causing her to sway dangerously to one side. She inhaled sharply, extending one arm to maintain balance while gripping the rim with the other. She nearly toppled onto the pier's surface. Bystanders rotated their attention toward the disturbance, yet rather than intervening, most simply averted their gaze. At that moment her spirit plummeted, not due to her tormentor's cruelty, but because of the collective indifference surrounding her. Friends, if you believe kindness should never stay silent and that we all deserve second chances and respect, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4. Together, we can make stories like this matter. Marissa fought back her tears, though the men continued their assault. They taunted her, treating her wheelchair as if it were entertainment. "I doubt you can even stand without assistance," one of them mocked. Another erupted in laughter so intense he doubled over, striking his thigh. Each comment eroded her confidence further. She desperately wanted to disappear, to propel herself away as rapidly as possible, but her limbs felt weighted down, immobilized. Suddenly, the environment began to transform. Initially, it manifested as sound, a profound, constant rumbling that pulsed through the pier's foundation. The Bullies' amusement diminished as attention shifted toward the avenue approaching the waterfront. Gradually, motorcycles appeared, their chrome surfaces reflecting the brilliant sunshine. Dark leather, polished footwear, body art that chronicled hardened experiences filled the scene. They arrived in substantial numbers, impossible to tally, scores, perhaps hundreds. Motors roared like distant thunder approaching from the sea. The entire pier seemed to quake as they positioned their machines and dismounted. An ocean of riders, powerfully built and stone-faced, began advancing toward the disturbance. The group included both men and women, elderly and youthful, yet all displayed identical expressions, fury held in careful restraint. Their jackets displayed various emblems, though the symbols were insignificant. What mattered was their solidarity, their fellowship, the overwhelming impact of their collective presence. The antagonists, previously so vocal, suddenly appeared ashen. The man in the tropical shirt abandoned his contemptuous expression. His gaze flickered frantically in all directions, seeking an exit route, but the motorcyclists eliminated the distance too swiftly. The boardwalk spectators fell silent, every eye now focused on the developing confrontation. The previously bustling pier resembled a theatrical setting. Marissa's breathing became labored. She had witnessed nothing comparable to this spectacle. A fortress of hide and metal advanced, their footsteps resonating against the wooden planks in perfect synchronization. The commander, an imposing figure with a silver beard and eyes both serene and enraged, moved forward until mere yards separated him from the tormentors. Without uttering a sound, he crossed his arms, his stare so penetrating it seemed capable of piercing steel. Behind him, the remaining riders spread out, creating an impenetrable shield around Marissa. The bullies retreated awkwardly, suddenly appearing insignificant, their false confidence dissolving before this wordless battalion. No physical contact occurred, yet the communication remained unmistakable. "You shall not harm her again." Marissa sensed her heartbeat thundering in her temples. For the first time since her accident, she experienced neither vulnerability nor pity nor frailty. She felt safeguarded, valued. She felt acknowledged. The bikers refrained from shouting. Such displays were unnecessary. Their mere attendance sufficed to alter the power dynamic. The pier, recently filled with malicious laughter, now hummed with wonder. Individuals who had previously looked away now observed with amazement, some even raising their devices to document the scene. The aggressors, recognizing they had transformed into the antagonists of their own drama, withdrew clumsily, their posture defeated, grumbling complaints beneath their breath. Then the most extraordinary event occurred. The leader pivoted toward Marissa, his harsh features relaxing. He lowered himself slightly to establish eye contact at her elevation. "You're protected now," he spoke softly. His tone was deep, rough, yet brimming with compassion. Marissa's eyes filled with the tears she had struggled to suppress. She acknowledged him with a nod, speechless. Surrounding her, the bikers offered encouraging gestures and supportive signals, several placing their palms on her chair in quiet unity. They perceived her not as damaged. They regarded her not as a liability. They recognized her as someone deserving of defense. The experience expanded into something eternal. The observation wheel rotated peacefully in the distance. The ocean winds delivered the maritime fragrance. On that brilliant California afternoon, a legion of motorcyclists converted a tale of malice into an instance of remarkable empathy. The audience erupted in appreciation. Young ones applauded, guardians smiled with consolation, and even unknown individuals approached to touch Marissa's arm. Yet none of these gestures compared to the comfort she experienced knowing that finally the world had responded to brutality with bravery. In the subsequent days, Marissa's experience extended beyond the pier's boundaries. Recordings shared online documented the precise instant when the bikers encircled her, and quickly it evolved into a widespread representation of sanctuary and benevolence. Individuals globally responded, contributing their personal accounts of occasions when someone had defended them or when they had neglected to defend another. The narrative transcended her individual story. It transformed into a testament of humanity's potential for excellence. Before we conclude, I have one special request. Drop a comment below with the words, "Kindness protects." If you believe the world needs more people who stand up against cruelty,